Would you like to begin a series of strategies that will propel you into achieving personal mastery? Do you desire to have breakthroughs in unlocking your potential? Do you seek to live a life that is full of joy, peace, and happiness? Each week, join Charles and Demetrius as they share tools and strategies that will help you take control of your life so you can live a life of peace, joy, and abundance. Now here are your hosts, Charles and Demetrius.
Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of Inner Success TV. This is Chuck alongside Billionaire Brown for another exciting episode, and we have a very amazing guest on the line with us today. Giovanni, how do you pronounce your last name, Giovanni?
It's Dienstmann.
Dienstmann. We have Giovanni
Dienstmann.
Dienstmann. It has like a Caribbean-ish, like a people from the islands, they put that man on the end of sentences and words. So.
Dienstmann, Giovanni Dienstmann. That's right.
So, Giovanni, we appreciate you coming on and sharing with the audience. We're really looking forward to what you have to say. So typically, each week we have a question of the day, question of the week, and that segment of the show is ran by Demetrius. So, Demetrius, I'll go ahead and throw it over to you.
All righty then. Hello, everybody. All right, so here's our question. We're gonna throw it over to you, Charles. Let's throw it over to you first. Okay. Is that all right? Is that all right?
That's cool with me.
All right, fantastic. So, what is? I'm curious to know, what is the biggest fear that you've had to overcome? All right. So again, for those of you that are in the gym right now. Okay, running on the treadmill, watching us, which you shouldn't really be doing. And also for those of you that are, I guess, at the barbershop and you guys decided to put us on the big screen, I'm going to read the question back for you. All right, the question is, what is the biggest fear that you have overcome in your life thus far? Charles, we're throwing it over to you.
Mine's is actually speaking in public, and you would say that's pretty typical, right? They say the number one fear is public speaking. But my background, or my story is, I grew up, I had a speech impediment. I was a stutterer. I stuttered up until probably the age of 13 or 14, right when I went into high school. And that was something that hindered a lot of the conversations that I had, because it would take me 5 minutes to get a sentence out, and it was just really bad. I had to go see a speech therapist when I was younger, and that didn't work. So it was just one of those things I had to evolve and grow out of. So when it came to, I started going into corporate America and dealing with different people, customer service, and now my current position where I coach individually and I teach group classes, it's something that I had to overcome. The stuttering was something that and it was a fear of standing in front of the people knowing that you have this speech impediment and it could impact your presentation. But fortunately, I've been able to, for the most part, overcome that hurdle.
All right, man, that's a salute to you, man. How do you feel? I mean, when you see other people, I guess, having that same challenge, do you have memories of that? Or?
Oh, yeah, of course. It always is. As soon as somebody starts stuttering, I remember sitting in a speech therapist room. It's like one of those things is, inexperience is tied to a thought, and you connect those two. So every time that thought comes up, that experience comes up, and it's like, I guess, I don't know, a ripple effect.
All right, that's what's up, and thank you so much, Chuck, for sharing there. And let's go over what you got, Giovanni Dienstmann. I mean, what is the biggest fear what's the biggest fear that you've overcome in your life thus far?
I could say it's maybe the fear of failure or the fear of not being enough. And I think that's something that many people have. You feel like no matter what you do or how hard you try, you're never enough by yourself. Like you're always lacking something. And this fear, I was actually able to turn it around and make something positive out of it, because fear was there. I have a very strong motivation to keep growing and keep becoming better and over preparing myself to situations. So I can see that this fear actually brought a lot of positive things in my life. But with this fear also comes the feeling that, right? I'm not enough. No matter what I do, I'm always going to be missing something. And it was only with years of meditation and spiritual search and reading that I was able to connect to this inner feeling of completeness. There is something inside of us that is perfect, that is complete, that is whole in this moment, no matter how our circumstances are in our outside life. This thing, this consciousness, this awareness inside of us is always complete, whole, and peaceful. I would say that I was able to really overcome this fear when I started connecting to this inner source of peace and happiness.
Man, that's really good, and I'm pretty sure you're stirring things up at the down under, right? Now that you've overcome that fear.
Oh yes. Life is different. I'm just much more comfortable at being who I am and being what I am, and accepting the reality of the present moment, whatever that is. Not stressing about things, knowing that there are some things I can change. So some effort and change them if it's worth it. Some things are really hard to change, but I can just let it go and accept as they are and roll with it. And some things I just cannot change, so I just learn to live with it and to love them.
All right, that's good stuff, man, and we definitely appreciate you. We're going to get into the interview. I just wanted to share my biggest fear for anybody who cares to know. My biggest fear that I overcame was the fear of my mother, right? And it's kind of interesting, and I don't think I've ever shared this story in this way, but when I think it was like 1999, right after I graduated high school, I got into a major car accident. Right, my car, I had a 1988 Nissan Maxima, and my car flipped over 3 times. Okay, it ended up in a ditch. Me and my high school buddy, we didn't have seatbelts on. The car went up in smoke. We had to get out. The car was upside down. We had to get out through the window. Okay, the car's bursting up in flames and smoke, and I could take forever to tell you guys this story, but the one thing, and when we're talking about what is our biggest fear and how we overcame it, is I'll never forget at that very moment after we got out of the car, no scratches on us. And the only thing that was going on in my head, I only had the car for about 2 weeks at this point. The only thing that was on my mind is I cannot tell my mom. I cannot freaking tell my mother. And for those that know who my mother is, you know how much I love her and I respect her. I never want to let her down, right? So now, as I've been maturing, because of that experience, and once that I told her, she wasn't like, oh man, why did you do this? What happened? She was more so like, are you okay? What happened? You know, she was more like more emotional. She was more caring than I thought she would be. I thought she would be disappointed in me. So that moment in my life has really carried on, where I understand there's a difference between letting my mother down and just making a simple mistake. So again, my biggest fear that I made was, overcoming the fear of letting my mother down, and how I overcame it. It took me, some people say, almost nearly dying, my car flipping over 3 times to realize that. Let's get this thing started, Chuck.
That's big. That's big. Giovanni.
Love you, Mom.
So Giovanni, I did a little bit of research on you. You have a very interesting background, but I would really like for you to share with our listeners how you ended up on this path, because this is the path that you're on, the path that we're on is not common. More people, there are people who are more interested in what's the hottest show on Netflix, or people can. I remember when I was going to Morgan, one of my friends who unfortunately passed away, this guy, we were watching an NFL football game, and I kid you not, you know how on the football game they tell you what school the players went to at the beginning of the game? At the beginning of the game, he would read off every single college that every single football player went to. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you put that much time and energy into knowing a subject matter that can actually impact your life, like that could literally, it was just crazy how he was able to just recall, yeah, this person went to this college, and then sure enough, when the screen popped up with the player's face and the bio, yeah, he went to BYU, he went to Florida State, and it was just amazing to me. But how did you get on this path, Giovanni? Like, was there a childhood experience, or did you wake up one morning and say, yes, I want to, I feel my life path is empowering people to connect with Source or connect with their spirituality. How did you get to where you are today?
So it was in my teenage time. I was about 14 years old. And a friend of mine from school started talking about things metaphysical, right? And I felt like, wow, these things exist. Are you serious? And then I'm a big reader, so I just bought a few books about it and started reading and developing interest. And this led me to developing an interest in personal growth and spiritual growth. And I was a very restless child. My mind was always running. I was never in the present moment. I had a lot of energy and I didn't know what to do with it. I would say that there was a bit of ADHD as well. And in one night I went for a 1-hour workshop on meditation that I found in my town. And during the meditation that night, I felt something very special. I entered a state that was very calm and very composed, and there was a kind of a satisfaction and a joy in remaining in that state. And I had never experienced that before. That was very, very unique, and I immediately liked it. So then from that night on, I decided, okay, I'm going to meditate every night. I'm going to be meditating every night. And that's how I started. Since then, I have been meditating every day, and I've tried different techniques. I read over 100 books. I went into retreats, spent time with different teachers and masters. But the journey started that day.
All right, let me echo on that. You're talking a lot about, I guess, reading, right? You read. Okay, so a lot of our listeners and a lot of our viewers are readers as well, right? And I always like to ask the question, like, what's the last book that you've read? Okay, and what book are you currently reading right now, if any?
Okay. I'm not going to say the last book that I read because I don't think it would be of interest to your readers, but the last personal development book that I read and that made a big impact was The Willpower Instinct. The Willpower Instinct. I think that's a really good one. Now it's just about yoga practice and yoga philosophy. But yeah, that book, The Willpower Instinct, is pretty good. Also, there's another book called Essentialism. I think everyone should read that book.
Yes.
Everyone should read that book.
I love that book. I love that book. It's funny. I actually read Essentialism and I read The One Thing, and they kind of seem similar as far as the concept. You know, like the one thing is, they ask the question, what's the one thing that if you did, it'll make everything else easier. And then essentialism is asking the question, what's the one thing you can focus on right now? And so I think some of the concepts are the same, but I definitely read both of those, the Essentialism and The One Thing.
Yeah,
so
awesome books.
Yeah.
Meditation. How do you feel about meditation and where it's headed? I heard Gary. Are you familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk? Okay. Yeah,
I heard that he
Gary
said something about meditation. I heard he said something about meditation.
Yeah, and I think he's on to something, man. He says it's like one of the new things. The same way people go to Starbucks and hang out. He's predicting that's going to be meditation is going to be a thing of, a kind of a trend or kind of a new fad or something like that. What's your take on that? I know you're big on meditation.
Well, so when I started practicing meditation, I was just a weirdo, right? That was not cool at that time. It was just like, whatever, what are you doing? Why are you sitting and kind of what are you doing, right? But since then, so many scientific research happened around the benefits of meditation. And it was all this scientific research that opened the eyes to people in the West, in schools, in hospitals, in all areas, about what this simple practice that can be done anywhere and that is free, what this can do for your health. I think meditation traditionally comes from a spiritual background where people would spend hours and hours every day in meditation because their goal is to master themselves, is to purify their mind from all negative thoughts and emotions, and is to kind of go beyond their limitations and their own kind of a idea about who they are, right? That's the background where meditation came from. But the way it's being developed now in the West, of course, it's in a much broader sense. It's in a way that everyone can sit for 10 to 20 minutes and pay attention on their breathing or use a mantra, repeat a mantra as a practice. And at the end of those 10 or 20 minutes, something will have happened to your body and your physiology. You will be in a better state, okay? And if you keep doing this practice day after day, with coming weeks and months and years, some things will change in you, right? You will be less reactive. You will be more in control of your emotions, more self-aware about what's going on inside your mind. So there's so many benefits that come to this practice. The important thing is that you need to do it every day, because our mind is working every day, right? Our mind every day is telling us stories, and some of these stories are not empowering. Some of these stories are just not true, right? But yet our mind, our subconscious is just repeating this, just like dumping it on us and other people as well. Like there are impressions, there are thoughts that come from other people. So if we want to be able to stand a chance to live in a more peaceful mind, right, in a more focused life, in a more fulfilling life, then we need to practice meditation every day so we can kind of counter all of these conditioning.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back to the meditation piece because it's really big, and we actually had a previous podcast episode where we talked about meditation and different ways to get started. But you said you're currently reading a book on yoga right now. I went to a lecture by one of my mentors, Wayne Chandler. He's very spiritual. He's one of those spiritual guys. It's like I read his book, saw him on YouTube, and I heard he was coming to Baltimore. Like, oh, I have to go see this guy in person, man. I have to go see him in person. And he says that yoga from times past is different than yoga, what it looks like today. He said Definitely. That yoga today is more of a recreational, feel good. People do it just to say, hey, I do yoga. But back in old times, people were actually doing yoga, and they had a specific goal, whether it was to transform their psychology or move the energy within their body. Can you kind of speak on that just a little bit? The difference between the way yoga is now from the way it used to be?
Sure. So actually nowadays people, when you talk about yoga, people think of stretches and postures, right? That's the idea of yoga. However, that's only a very small part of yoga. Yoga is actually a wisdom tradition. Yoga says there are certain exercises that you can do with your body, with your breathing, and with your mind that will yield profound inner transformation. Right. So what people did when yoga is coming to the West, they just focus on the body part. Okay, if you do these body exercises, you're gonna have many benefits, and you do, and it's great. You do have many benefits, but there's so much more that you can get from yoga. Actually, the main part of yoga is meditation. In a way, all meditation came from yogic practice 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. So even these physical exercises that we do, their intention was that they would get perfect health. They would be disease-free, and they will have a body that is strong, supple, healthy, with a long life, so that they can practice meditation more effectively and achieve the goals of meditation. That was the idea of it. So I think little by little, the West is discovering what else is there to yoga. So for instance, the breathing exercises. Breathing is this bridge between your conscious mind and your unconscious mind, because it's one of the only processes in the body that is both conscious and unconscious. You're all breathing right now, and you're not conscious of it probably, but you are able to pay attention to your breath and change the rhythm. And when you change the rhythm of your breath, you're affecting your whole physiology, and you're also affecting your moods. Right? So when you're angry, we breathe in a very specific way. When we are excited, or when we are sad, or when we're depressed, we breathe in another way. When we are calm and present and happy and content, we breathe in another way. Okay, so different states of mind generate different rhythms in your breath. And what the yogis discovered is that by consciously changing the rhythm of your breath, you can change the way you feel. Right? So if you are angry or stressed, I can give you an exercise that you will do for 2 or 3 minutes, and you guaranteed you will be in a different state at the end of those 2 or 3 minutes. Right? So that's just like another level of the tradition of yoga, just coming out of the body and already going into the breath. Right? And then we have the meditation part, focusing on the breathing, focusing on specific parts of the body, focusing on a mantra. All of this gives you yet another level of benefit. So as you can see, the yoga tradition is very, very rich. And if you go with a cup, you come out with a cup full of water. If you go with a bucket, you come out with a bucket full of water.
Yeah.
It depends on your interest.
Yeah.
All right, so I have another question for you, Giovanni. Actually, I have two. Which one do you want? I got one on yoga and I got one on meditation.
Let's start with the one on meditation.
Okay. I was reading one of your blogs, okay, which I really enjoyed. And you were talking about how, I don't know when was last year, but you said last year you tried, was it like 57? Let me see. You had 57, right? 57 different ways of meditation. What did you learn? And everybody, before he says it, he's not only going to give you a brief synopsis, but make sure to go check out his blog. We'll give you his information in a little bit once we wrap up. But just what's the gist of it? You tried 57 different meditations. What did you learn?
Okay. So I learned different things from different meditations, right? In general, I learned that there are many paths to stillness. So meditation will bring you to stillness, will bring you to this state of silence and peace and contentment inside yourself. And whether you meditate by focusing on your breath or on a mantra, or by focusing on the feeling of contentment or loving kindness, there are so many different objects that you can take as kind of an anchor for your attention. And all of them can take you to a state of stillness. So even if you want to focus on a football ball, right, that's going to be the object of your meditation, or basketball, or anything that you like, that you're attracted to. If you take that as the object of your meditation and you achieve true concentration by moment after moment being with that object and letting go of all other distractions, you will achieve a state of stillness. So that's the beauty, that the true meditation is very, very flexible. It's a skill of the mind that when you focus your attention on the same object moment after moment, and that object is not changing, like it's a kind of a stable object, you will arrive at the state of stillness and a state of, yeah.
You ever seen the movie Anger Management?
No.
Oh, man. Okay, because you were talking a lot about objects, and I wanted to know, like, is it just objects that people who are doing meditation can focus on, or is it like nature, or is it moving things, or does it have to be like something physical, like an object?
Well, actually, when I say an object, it can be anything that is perceived. So anything that is perceived as an object, then you are the subject, right? You are perceiving that thing. So it could be a feeling. You could take the feeling of joy as the object of your meditation. So then you remember a moment in your life where you felt joy, and you keep focusing on that feeling and you hold on to it. And then that feeling becomes very, very strong and very stable inside your consciousness and starts growing. And then there's a point where you don't need there was a trigger for that feeling of joy, but when you're able to concentrate on it and make it grow by itself, you don't need any external trigger. It's like you can just think of that and you feel like that. So yeah, it could be anything. In general, I always recommend people to start meditating either by focusing on their breathing or on a mantra, a chosen word that they repeat inside their mind. Or it can also be the feeling of loving kindness, the feeling of love, because that opens the heart and that allows you to kind of heal and let go of many negative emotions.
Okay. Before I answer, before I ask my yoga question, we obviously heard your bio. I've read your bio. In short, what exactly do you do?
My mission is to bring these tools, these principles of wisdom traditions, the main one being meditation, to bring these tools to a way that people, in a broad sense, can connect to it, can benefit from it, without needing to believe anything special. They can just read what I'm writing. They can just follow my course on meditation or watch me speak. And they can connect and get a little bit of all this wisdom that these world traditions have. Right? So my idea is to make meditation and spiritual teachings and personal growth teachings be very accessible for people. And that's what I do through my blog.
That's interesting, man. My whole life's purpose is I want to be the guy who actually commercializes the industry of personal development. And, I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible. And I guess the yoga question that I wanted to ask you is, because you said meditation is a part of yoga, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a connection there. So what is one of the biggest misconceptions with yoga? Because I'll tell you, you can hate me for it if you want to, but I can't. It's like Zumba to me, right? My lady goes to Zumba like 3 times a week, and I put Zumba and yoga all in the same gumbo, and I think that men don't do it. I actually think it's kind of feminine. I know I'm probably wrong. But what is one of the biggest misconceptions for idiots like me who don't know anything about yoga?
Well, I think that's one of the misconceptions, right? That yoga is just a physical exercise. And that interesting that you mentioned that yoga is feminine, because in the past it was the opposite. Only men would practice, women wouldn't.
Uh-huh.
It's more in the West that there are more women than men practicing it. So as I mentioned, the biggest misconception about yoga is thinking that yoga is a physical exercise. And that's fine, okay? It's the reason why yoga is so popular in the West is because some people that were bringing it or promoting it in the US, in Europe, they were promoting just the physical part of it, right? So anybody can connect to that. Anybody can kind of sit on the floor and do those stretches and feel how good it feels, right? So that's fine. It's okay for you to feel that, okay, yoga for me is just an exercise. But for those that are hungry for more, then know that yoga can also give you so much more.
Do you follow the only male that I really know that's a public figure that's open about it and kind of promotes meditation as well as yoga is Russell Simmons. Are you familiar with him?
Yes.
All right, yeah, he's a big yogi. I guess he called himself a yogi or something, but he's big on meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All right, yeah, let's go.
So Demetrius, just to give you a heads up, I did 6 weeks of Zumba.
Oh my God! Oh no!
That was offered through my job.
I apologize.
Now, just a disclaimer. So there were a lot of feminine moves in there. So I had to adjust, like put your hands in it, putting your hand on your hip and like doing some type of shaking. So those type, I was like, okay, that's a little too much for me, right? So I had to alter some of the moves, but I sweated. It was a good workout. It was a really, really great workout. So I encourage men, of course, as well as women already in there, but men to try out the Zumba class. Very, very exciting. Giovanni, so of course you're familiar with the law of attraction.
Yes.
In the movie The Secret. So my mentor, the same one I referenced earlier, he said that while The Secret was good, and as far as explaining the law of attraction, they left out a key component, and that's self-integration. If you're not self-integrated and you're putting out these requests to the universe, and his philosophy is the universe is an integrated being, right? Nature is an integrated being. So when you're a non-integrated person asking an integrated source for assistance, it doesn't even recognize you. And he says one of the ways that we can do that is through, of course, yoga and meditation. But he believes that there's an energy, there's a feminine energy and a masculine energy in the universe. And he says that once that balance is created, then at that point you're self-integrated. So have you heard anything along those lines, or is that kind of sort of the work that you do, or is this completely off?
Well, the work that I do is not so much related to the law of attraction. It's more related to fine-tuning your mind, because even if you want to follow those teachings and apply the law of attraction, you apply it through your mind, right? So if you can concentrate very, very strongly, if you have good powers of visualization and concentration, you are able to put a much stronger request on the universe to speak that language, right? So meditation allows you to, well, if you think about it, that your thoughts help shape your reality. So your mind helps shape your reality. Meditation gives you a stronger mind. Right. So it's really like a core skill that will be there supporting you anything you want to achieve and to create. The yogis, there are many stories about the yogis like accomplishing things that are hard to believe just with the power of their thought and their concentration and things like that. So I would say that even for those that are following the law of attraction and they want to manifest things in their life, they will make their work much easier if they can develop a stronger concentration and powers of visualization. Because imagine that, let's say that the universe is this being that we send a type of thought vibration and he responds to us, right? What's happening is that the average human being is having 30,000 thoughts a day, okay? And 80% of those thoughts are the same as the thoughts of yesterday. Okay, so we are this machine that we are just reproducing our conditioning. So what would happen if this same human being, through a lot of training, through meditation, is able to reduce his amount of thoughts to 10,000 thoughts a day? Now you see that same energy that was spread through 40,000 thoughts, now it's in 10,000 thoughts. So those thoughts are going to be more effective, they're going to be more powerful, right? And also through meditation, your thoughts are going to be more intentional, because you may be walking down the street and a thought comes through your mind like, just not feeling good today, it's not a good day, I don't think I'm going to get anything out of it. And for the general person, that's just a thought that comes and they kind of roll with it, right? They are continuing that thought loop. For a person that meditates and that is well trained in meditation, he can immediately recognize that this thought arose. Like maybe one or two thoughts in this train of thoughts come and he already recognizes. And then he has a choice, like, do I want to continue it or do I want to put my attention somewhere else? Because that is the exact exercise that we do in meditation. Let's say I'm putting my attention in my breathing. So I'm counting my breaths, and 10 seconds after, I'm thinking about something else. I forget everything about my breathing. And then I notice, like, my attention has wandered, and I bring it back. So you see what's happening here? I am monitoring my mind. I'm monitoring my attention. I'm recognizing where it's going, and I'm putting it back where I want it to be. And that is that's like a mini willpower exercise, mini self-mastery exercise. And we do that tens, hundreds, thousands of times through meditation. So that ability becomes stronger and stronger. So as we're going through our day, when our mind is not in the best state, we have this ability to recognize that and to change it, because we have been training this every day for the time we're sitting in meditation.
Do you think people have a fear of silence? And what I mean by that is, we're in our cars, we either got the radio playing, we either listen to some podcast or some audio book. We wake up in the morning, like for me, for example, this morning, and as soon as I woke up, I put on the audio, I'm in the shower, I'm listening to audio, listening to music. And for some reason, I have this fear that if I'm not, either listening to an audio or listening to this, like I'm wasting time. And I know that's not the case, but for me personally, I have this fear of just missing out on something. Is there such thing as a fear of silence that people have, or something similar?
Yes, I think there's many things there. There's the fear of missing out, okay, and it's an idea that is created by our culture, by our conditioning, and by the fact that there's nowadays with technology and with smartphones and internet, there's always something happening. Okay, and we have the impression that if we are not accompanying, if we're not aware of what's happening, we're missing something. Okay, so we live in this loop where we are just kind of like, we're like a link in the chain of information. We are just receiving information, processing, and that's like all we're doing in our lives. Okay, and meditation, well, many people nowadays are pointing this fact, but this is not the best way to live. Right? A lot of this information is just junk. A lot of this information carries with it assumptions about the world and about what's important and about what you should be going after. You know, all of this bits information carries a lot of these assumptions that we don't often recognize, but we are accepting them into our mind, and they are influencing the way we feel and the things we do in our life. So I think going into a media fast where we spend like, okay, let's say 1 day a week, I'm just not going to take in any information. Okay, I'm not going to read, listen, watch TV, go on Twitter and Facebook, nothing. I'm just going to maybe kind of be there by myself and do something productive, do some sports, walk in nature, I don't know, but not bringing in more input into my mind. That is very helpful. Also, in general, just reducing the amount of media, and especially social media and news that we consume. I think we all can benefit from that. Because if we are consuming information like crazy and then we sit to meditate, it's going to be good because we still get some benefit from that practice. But you know, all that information is going to be in our mind during the meditation, and we don't get the most out of it. So yeah, I think there is the fear of missing out. There is this addiction to information, to the new thing, you know, to always being busy. And yeah, people are afraid of looking inside. Many people are, because we're not used to looking inside. We're used to looking outside and being busy. And when we're just not busy and we're looking inside, we may not like what we see. Right? We may need to face some traumas that are there. We may need to face some bad choices that we have made, or some continuous feelings of unworthiness that are there inside of us. So people just prefer to be looking outside and watching TV and checking their phones. That's just much more comfortable. But my invitation and the invitation of meditation is to set aside that fear, to set aside that addiction, and to look inside and see who you are and see what you can find. And you're gonna see a lot of noise. You're gonna see a lot of things that you don't like. But unless you stop and face it and let that thing come out, let that energy kind of evaporate out of you, you will never be free of it. It will always be there, and you'll just spend your life running away from it.
All right, so you have you have a 5-week course, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what is it, a meditation course or what?
Yeah, so it's a meditation course for beginners.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been in this meditation space for quite a bit and research everything that is out there. And there are some good courses and programs. Some of them charge you a monthly subscription.
Well, before you tell us that, wait.
Yeah.
Because I want you to get there. But tell me, what is your greatest testimony that you've had from one of your clients that has taken your 5-week course?
Wow. Many ones come to mind.
The most emotion, maybe one made you emotional,
okay.
Or wow, aha moment, etc.
Okay. Well, so there was one woman that took my course, and she struggles with anxiety. Like, she struggles a lot with anxiety to the point where she cannot function well in her life. And she actually sent me an email saying, look, I I only earn $900 a month, and I cannot afford your course because I'm on a pension and I'm really tight. And I said, I'll give you the course for you because I want to make meditation accessible, right? And she was so grateful, and she took the course, and she had such a transformation through the course. Like she's able now to do many things in her life that she wasn't able before. She said that meditation went beyond all her expectations. Right. So this is one person that by taking a 5-week introduction into meditation and just starting really small, because in the course you say, look, you're going to start with 2 minutes per day. Everyone can spare 2 minutes per day. And you're going to be increasing little by little. And at the end of 5 weeks, you're going to be doing 15 minutes per day, which is something that you couldn't do in the beginning. And just by taking those baby steps, she was able to manage her anxiety, and she's just feeling so much better about herself and about her life. And she's able to do things that she couldn't. So that's one person.
Right, give me a male one. I got one more question about this 5-week course that I think you already answered, but I'll just ask it again. But I'm curious also, that's a woman, that's a female's, I'm talking to the idiots out there, right? Some of our idiot viewers that like me that still need help understanding it's okay to take meditation courses, fellas. It's okay. So do you have like a male testimony, a great testimony that a male who maybe was kind of putting it off and he was kind of like on the fence and he was like, you know what, let me just try it. I don't believe in it, whatever. And it came out to be something, meaningful in his life. You have one of those?
Yes, I do. I don't remember by heart, but it's there on my course information page. Actually, I would say 55% of my students are male and 45 are female. So there's actually a good balance of male and female. And they usually come for similar reasons, right? It's like if you have a mind, you need to learn how to use it. It's as simple as that. Women have mind, men also have mind, right? And many people may feel like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to relax. I can relax by drinking some beer and watching some games or something.
Football.
Yeah, exactly. But, meditation is not only about relaxing. Meditation is about you have your main tool in your life is your mind, okay? Your mind determines how you feel, determines what you're going to do, what you're going to achieve in life, everything. Right? And you are not the boss of your mind, man. Your mind is the boss of you many times. So meditation allows you to switch that relationship.
That's so crazy. Yeah, that's so crazy. You just said that, man. It's about how powerful the mind is. I had this, I didn't realize it. People say, well, you have this $1 billion thing between your ears. It all sounds good. It's a bunch of cliches, right? But I started to use that. Like, I used to be the type of person who, if my computer kind of gave me some errors or I wasn't able to get something done, like a pop-up message, I would always just get frustrated and be like, oh my goodness, it's the freaking computer. But as more people like yourself, expertise that study, understand the mind and how it works, for the past few years, every time I get a challenge on my computer, I say, you know what? A mind built this computer. So it may not be the normal way that I can work this thing out, but if I keep playing with it long enough, I'm going to fix it. Why can I fix it? Because the mind actually created this device that we're using. So I thank you again for how do you feel about that?
No, I think it's a good example.
Do you think we can solve more problems than we give ourselves credit for?
No doubt. There's no doubt.
To what extent?
To the extent that as you develop your inner power more and more through meditation, you don't need to ever again be bullied by your own mind.
I like that.
And our mind is the greatest bully, right? Our mind puts feelings, makes us feel bad, and puts feelings of anger that will cause destruction in our life later on, and brings feelings of envy and frustration and all these things. Our mind is bullying us, right? And we don't need to be. The mind can be our friend. And the mind is a great friend, but it's not a great master. So it's better that we know how to use our mind. It's like a computer, right? So imagine that your brain is this computer, and your mind is the software that is running on it. Okay, so you may have the most amazing computer because you've got like just good genes, right? And you don't have the problems that some people have. But if your software is showing you the blue screen of death every once in a while, right? When you're in the middle of something important, or if your software is running some virus that you're not even aware of, or it just brings you those files that you never want to see again, brings and puts it on your face, like from time to time in important moments in your life, then the software is not good enough. It's not running optimally. And there are things you can do to improve that. And working with your mindset is one thing. Meditation is another thing. All of this can help you upgrade your software.
All right. Last question about the 5-week course. And that was actually pretty brilliant. And I know Chuck loves that right there because he loves the mind. But you said the brain is, the computer. The mind is the software. That was really, really simple for someone like myself. My question with this 5-week course is, when is the next one? Or are they like always running? Or do you have them like semesters or something? Or when's the next one?
It's a self-paced course, so it's always running. People can go there right now. Meditationcourse.org will take them there. They can go there right now. They can enroll in the course and get started today if they want to.
So any given time, they could, whenever they want, their 5 weeks starts whenever they go to the website.
Exactly. And in 5 weeks, they will learn 5 different types of meditation rather than just one type. At the end of it, they can choose which type of meditation works best for them. The whole idea is to really help them build the habit. Because meditation is great, but if you don't do it every day, it's just going to be a stress ball that you use once a week,
So I know one of the modules in your, and as we're going to wrap up here shortly,
Sure.
And then of course we'll actually give your website again where people can find you and whatnot. But I know one of the modules in your course you talk about mantras, and so just to give a quick synopsis of my background. So I grew up Pentecostal Christian, Seventh Day, and a lot of the stuff that I'm into now, I was really against it. Mantras, meditation, yoga, and to be honest, I thought all that stuff was evil, and I thought I was going to go to hell if I was practicing yoga or meditation. But now I realize how many years I've wasted with that mindset. But particularly with mantras, I know there's a lot of different conceptions about mantras, and I kind of get the basic meaning of mantras. But can you listen to mantras? I go on YouTube, and there's a guy on there I follow. I forgot his name. But he has these hour videos where he's just repeating the same mantra over and over again. Do you get the same benefit from listening to mantras as opposed to you specifically saying a mantra like Om? And then if you're listening to somebody saying Om, do you get the same effect or no?
No, it's not the same effect. Just like it's not the same effect if you're listening to music or you're actually playing the music. It's it's a bit different. Well, if you're listening to mantras, that can help you kind of relax a little bit and go into a calm state. But when you are repeating the mantras yourself, you are in control. You are driving it, and you can speed up the repetition or slow down the repetition according to how your mind is kind of getting more noisy or less noisy. So you are more in control. You're driving yourself to silence rather than just opening up and hoping to be driven to silence.
And so even if you don't believe in a mantra and you're still doing the mantra, because the mantra or your voice, the mantra itself, like Om, has a particular vibration. So whether or not you believe it, will it still have an effect on you, or does belief play an important role in that?
Well, you see, with mantra, traditionally in the yoga tradition, there are some very specific words that they use for mantras. Okay, but when I'm teaching in a secular context, the thing is, any word that you like can be used as a mantra, and you will have some benefit from it. So it doesn't need to be a word like Om, even though I feel that Om is very, very helpful. It doesn't need to be Om. If you're Christian, it can be a word or a sentence from the Bible, right? So if you're Christian, you could use Lord as a mantra, or Christ as a mantra. And that's going to work better for you than using Om, probably, because Christ has a meaning for you. So you're repeating Christ as a mantra, and you have a belief in it, and that word kind of carries some meaning for you. So it's easier for you to focus on it. It's all about developing that continuous state of focus, right? So it could be a word from your religion tradition, or any word in the English language that you like.
Interesting. Demetrius, you have any closing remarks or any final questions for Giovanni?
Yeah, I got a question, and I also have a closing remark. All right, so my question for you, Giovanni, is from time to time we have, I guess, younger kids listen and watch our show, like, teenagers. So I had a challenge growing up, and I used to think all the way through college, maybe this is why it took me 7 years to get a 4-year degree, who knows? But I had this thing where I said, I study better when I'm listening to music or watching television. I'm not an expert, so they're not going to listen to me. So I'm curious to know, what is your take on it, and on children or anybody listening to music or watching television and studying?
I think listening to music and studying can be helpful for some people, right? So if it helps you, then why not, right? Now with watching TV, I probably have some different idea about it, because it's much more distracting, right? There is human dialogues. Yeah, that's gonna interrupt you. But listening to some music that's just playing on the background, I don't see the problem. Like I know even that Tim Ferriss, you know Tim Ferriss?
40-hour work week.
Famous, yeah, the 4-hour work week. He also says whenever he's writing, I think he mentioned he plays one song over and over again, just keep there playing on them. So yeah, I think I know some people find it helpful. For me, no, I need complete silence. I work better with complete silence. But if playing a song in the background helps you study, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Wow, that's really good. And actually, that's really good. I like that. All right, so my closing remarks is I want to do something special here. I don't know why, but I counted how many times you said the word meditation in this interview, Giovanni. And if anybody noticed that as well, listen, watch this as many times you need to watch it. I'm going to watch it again because I did count while the interview was going on. If you can tell me how many times Giovanni either said meditation or the word meditate, I'm going to send you a free copy of my 10 Commandments of Becoming a Masterful Communicator and Public Speaker.
What made you think of that, man?
Yeah, he kept saying it. I'm like, man, I know this is what he does, and it was repetition, and I'm that's the way I learn. Like, so now when I see his face or I see his name pop up, I'm gonna think of meditation. And he just kept saying it. He just kept saying it. So now when I think of meditation, I'm gonna think of Giovanni Dienstmann.
Well, you told me it was an interview about meditation, right? So
yeah, I mean, hey.
Wow, good stuff, man. Well, I'm gonna give you the answer off the air, so we don't get out. Giovanni, again, thank you so much for coming on. You shared a lot of inspiring and great information. Just let our listeners know where we can find you, social media, personal website, and how they can access your 5-week course.
Sure. So the best way to find me is on my personal blog, liveinthare.com. You'll find all my articles there, information about me, and also information about my course. Or you can also use the URL meditationcourse.org. That will direct you directly to the information page on the course. And if you join the course, let me know that you are from Inner Success TV, because then I can give you some special attention in the comments.
Nice. And I'll make sure to have all of your information in the description on YouTube, and then, of course, when we post it out to social media as well. I have one last final question for you, Giovanni. What would the Giovanni now say to the Giovanni at 14 years old?
I think he would say, well, so that question invites me to think, what would I have done differently? What type of information would I like to know so that I do things different in my life? And in general, I'm pretty happy about how things turn out in my life, either the good things and the bad things, because they have made me who I am now, and I'm happy with who I am now. But if there was one thing that I would say to the young Giovanni, I would tell him, be very careful not to hurt people you love.
Nice.
That's what I would say.
I like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, Giovanni, again, thanks so much for sharing. We'll definitely love to have you on again. We actually maybe even get you on to the podcast, because I definitely enjoyed today's show. So thanks again,
Cool,
Johnny, for coming on. And being here, Brown. See you next week, bro.
Let's go, Chuck. Thank you, Giovanni.
Thank you.
Tell Australia we said hello.
All right.